Welcome, Hop Nation Podcast. Today, I welcome back my friend Dean Forbes. Welcome back, Dean.
Thanks for having me back, Corey. It's a pleasure to be here again with your people in Hop Nation. Hey, Hop Nation, how you doing?
Well, it's exciting because when we connected recently, I found out you have a new book. And when I heard the book and then bought the book for myself and have been able to read it, there were some cool tidbits in here, and I thought we got to get you back and talk about this book. So
I appreciate that.
The title of the book is called The Top 7 Killer Success Secrets of Incredibly Successful People and How Purpose-Driven People Think Differently to Achieve. So before we dive into some of the details of this, tell us, how did this book come about?
Well, Corey, that's a story for sure, because this book is over a decade in the making, probably 15 years in the making at this point. It's a labor of love as much as it's a labor of my life. So in my life, I've been blessed and fortunate to have some really awesome mentors. And I've also been able to do some great things with some great people in my life, especially in the beauty industry. And this book contains essentially the 7 characteristics, if you will, the 7 skills, the 7 granular things that every single successful person does and embodies over and over again that makes them successful. All my mentors embodied these 7. Some had more of one versus another, but these were the 7 things that I could extract and that have also worked for myself, my clients, that I'm like, yeah, these are the 7 killer success secrets of incredibly successful people. And you might find people that lay them out differently in the whole 9 yards, but this is what I extracted from my life over the last 15 years of working with, incredibly successful people.
Well, and it's amazing how much we can learn and then share through our interactions and learning from others. And you put together a great culmination. Let's start by talking about one of the chapters in the book, that's the 7 keys to killer communication skills.
Yeah.
We don't want you to give away the farm here. So what are maybe a couple of those that you could share with the Hop Nation?
Right. Well, one of the ones I want to share with you today is about saying what you mean. And unfortunately, I wouldn't want anyone in Hop Nation to say to themselves, hey, I always say what I mean. The truth is that 98% of the people on the planet never say what they actually mean, because they sugarcoat it. They're afraid that they're going to hurt the other person, or they don't want to be looked at as, the bad guy. So they don't say what they mean. And so in the book, I explain what say what you mean actually means, and how to actually say what you truly want to say, what's on your heart, but with compassion. So saying what you mean is so important to communication, because what I've learned over the years, Corey, is that the quality of our communication equals the quality of our life. And so I challenge anyone at all on the planet right now, find me a situation in love, marriage, sex, money, business, anything, where your communication is not the nexus of how well you do in those situations.
Totally. Yeah. And the opposite's true. Like the problems that we experience, really comes down to a gap in the communications.
100% of the time. And the second one I want to share from this is one that I used to struggle with. Who knows? If you ask certain people, they might say I still struggle with it. And it's knowing when to shut up. A lot of times we don't understand. So there's one in there about listening actively, but in order to do that, you got to shut up. And so I remember when I was younger, my dad would always say, Dean, why you think God give you 2 ears and 1 mouth? It took me a long time to get what he was trying to tell me there. But, obviously the lesson is you need to listen twice as much as you talk, because the more you listen, and when you shut up sometimes, you let other people talk and you're present for them, and you'll suspend your agenda and just listen to what they have to say. Well, not only do you hear a lot more, but you end up being able to help a lot more, impact a lot more, and give a lot more to that person, to that situation, to make it better. So we've got to know when to shut up, man.
Absolutely. And we're talking before about how we can learn so much more from others. And we can only do that if we're willing to shut up and not make it just about us. So,
exactly.
it's a good reminder, and it seems just so basic and common sense, but is that ever damn hard to do?
Yes, yes, it is. A lot of what's in this book is actually common sense. When you read it, you might go, yeah, of course, that makes sense. But the truth is, are we doing it though? Are we doing these things? And the answer is most of the time, unfortunately, we're not.
Right. And it's always about, even when we aren't, then becoming aware and
right.
correcting to, that ideal state.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Now, it was interesting, in a book of success secrets, you have a chapter on 7 sales killers. And I mean, that one's fascinating. So give the audience a bit of a glimpse of a couple of those sales killers.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Corey. So let me preface this by saying, let me tell you the reason this is in here. You could talk about success secrets all day long and how you become successful, the things you do to become successful. Sometimes though, it's a lot about the things that you shouldn't be doing that help you cross the finish line to becoming successful. So the top 7 sales killers. And look, let me just say right now, we're all in the business of sales. You're selling to your wife, you're selling to your kids, you're selling to your business partners, you're selling to everybody every day that you wake up. So don't think that you're not in sales. And so it's important for you to have confidence. So one of the sales killers that we have in here is doubt. And when you walk into any situation with doubt, well, doubt rules the day, right? It essentially wrestles or rests everything in you to say all the wrong things, because you're coming from a place of not believing, a place of, I don't think it's going to work, a place of, well, this never worked, a place of malicious compliance. And so that doubt tends to just take over your mind and corrode everything else that you say and do. And guess what? Especially in today's day and age with the connectivity that we have, people can see that even through the screen. Even when you're on a Zoom or on a webinar or on a video, people just know, there's something about that guy that I don't know. Something about her, I don't believe her. And that's because you don't believe yourself. So if you walk in with doubt, sales is killed right away. One basic one that I want to talk about is dishonesty in sales. And when I say dishonesty, I'm not talking about even the guy that egregiously lied because he meant to lie, okay? I'm not talking about, Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. I'm talking about the little white lies you tell that you think are going to help you cross the finish line. But guess what? What happens in those situations is you make one sale, and that's the only sale you ever make to that person for the rest of your life, because they figure out that you're not on the up and up. You're not a person of integrity. You're not in this for the right reasons. And so you're being dishonest with yourself first, and that forces you to then be dishonest with the people that you deal with. Again, Corey, I love to quote my father, right? And he would say, Dean, integrity is a funny thing. Either you have it or you don't. There's no in between. You can't be slightly pregnant. And I was like, wait, what?
You can't be slightly pregnant. I love it.
Wait, what? But but when that hits you though, it's not like you say, are you pregnant? Well, kinda. No, you're either pregnant or you're not, man. So you're either gonna be honest or you're not. It's like when people say, well, let me be totally honest with you, or I'm being really honest. Look, you're either being honest or you're being dishonest. There isn't any, over 100% of honest or really honest or, totally honest. It's either honest or not honest, and you pick.
Yeah. And I would go even a step further, because we can have worthy intent and be misleading without even knowing it. And I know I've been guilty of this, where you show up with a level of enthusiasm and positivity that can move into hyperbole or maybe heightened expectations that you set with the person listening to. And, you want that positivity and optimism, but if it's setting a higher expectation, even if it's unintentional, that could be a break in integrity. And I've learned about that after the fact. And no, I have to be more aware of that myself, because we will get excited. And even when we have that belief and the confidence you talked about beforehand, right? When it's extreme, we can get too excited and create, an expectation that's maybe too far out.
Sure. It gets to become a little bit embellished, almost. And look, Corey, you and I are kindred spirits, man. I've been a victim of that myself, if you will. So a lot of what I talk about in this book, I've been on both sides of those coins.
Oh.
Okay. And so I want people to understand that part of the learning and why this book took so long is because I've been on both sides. So the thing is, when I speak in the book, I'm speaking not just from a place of I learned this or I saw this. I'm speaking from a place of, hey, I've been on both sides. I know what awaits you on each side of this. And what I'm trying to convey in the book is stay on the right side of this, because I know what's over here. You need to be over here.
Right.
So I lived it already. In 99% of these cases, I've already lived both sides of this. So, don't fall into the pitfalls I fell into. Fall into your own different pitfalls, but not these.
Absolutely. And to that point, the best way for anyone to learn something is to have to teach it, because you then move from knowledge to understanding, because you have to actually understand what you're hearing and actually be able to apply it to then be able to teach it. And that's not saying that, all of a sudden we start walking on water, because that's just not true. We only walk on water if it's frozen.
Right.
So,
right.
We can just all get over ourselves, and we're going to step in.
Let's get over ourselves a little bit. Absolutely, Corey. And listen, you said it best, man. It's a level of understanding. And that's why knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Okay?
Right.
That's exactly the reason why. You just said it perfectly.
Yeah. And your first point on the sales killers around confidence, literally one of the readings I did in my research this morning in my morning routine was on self-efficacy, which is, that confidence applied and how it can zap focus and energy. And if you think of elite level performance and peak performance, you need to be really focused and have the best energy so you can go into flow. And if there is that doubt that you talk about and that lack of confidence, you're starting from a less than, position.
You're behind the eight ball at that point. I mean, Tony Robbins was not wrong when he said highest energy wins. And that could be a positive or a negative energy. But the highest energy in the room is going to win, And so if you're emanating love and positivity, and then you're emanating it, you're walking in it, you're talking it, you're living it, no energy in the room could beat that. It just can't. No energy in the room could beat that. But you have to be able to, emanate it, talk it, walk it, live it. Every fiber of your being and everything you're doing needs to be exuding that energy. And it really doesn't matter how much negative energy comes into a room like that. When you start influencing other people and they start feeling that electricity, that energy is going to win 100% every single time.
Absolutely. It becomes your ethos and
it becomes
just part of your being. And you become that light. And there's enough darkness out in the world. And a friend of mine and previous podcast guest, Nicole Jansen from Leaders of Transformation, was talking about when you have light dispels the darkness. And when there's so much negativity in that right now, we're still in the middle of this pandemic and all this negativity and challenges to our resilience, which can affect people's ability to show up as their best selves. We need to be that light, and, light literally dispels the darkness, and you can't have darkness where there's light.
Cannot have darkness where there's light. And on that note, drop the mic, explanation point done.
But before we drop the mic, let's go to the 7 killer success secrets. What are some of the things that people can do? We talked about a few of the things, what not to do, and the communication being foundational.
Yeah.
What are some success secrets that you talk about?
So there are 2 or 3 very key ones in the actual 7 killer success secrets. And this by far is embodied by every super successful person I have ever known, from the meek and humble all the way to, the Jeff Bezos and Tony Robbins of the world. Okay, and the first one is going to be synergy, the third alternative, as called by Stephen Covey, and that is they all seek to hit the third alternative, meaning there's always a win-win. So it's like, you might have an idea, I have an idea. Let's keep it simple. Our ideas aren't really meshing right now, but we have like this one goal that we want to achieve, and we think we know the best way to get there. And it's like, I would say, Corey, listen, man, I know you're a great guy. I respect you. I respect your ideas, but right now we're not meeting. Our ideas aren't meeting. So would you be willing to collaborate with me so we can come up with one idea that's better than the one that each of us thought of individually?
Yes.
I'm getting goosebumps when I say that, because Corey, I believe this is possible in every situation. I approach every situation like this. Even when people tell me, Dean, you're crazy, and people tell me, you're crazy, you need to compromise. Corey, I have not compromised in over a decade. I walk away. I'd rather walk away. I'm not compromising. Okay? That's the first. We need to find a solution that benefits everyone, and it's possible when we put our minds to doing this. All right? So that's key, and I hope Pop Nation really embodies that and takes that one with them in every situation that they go into today and beyond. Okay? The second one I want to talk about is spreading the wealth. When I say spread the wealth, is for all the mentors I've had, from my dad all the way to everybody else I've had in business and personal, I don't consider myself the owner of this knowledge. It's why I teach it. I consider myself a steward, a vessel by which the knowledge passes through. I utilize it to enrich myself, my community, my family, my clients, and everybody that I touch. And then at the same time, I'm passing it on so you can go do exactly the same thing. You see, wealth comes through the law of gratitude and the law of giving. The life is not about give and take. It's about give and give. Give and give. Okay? So when you look at some of the most incredibly successful people and you watch how much they actually give, it still amazes me today when you see that people could still be either jealous or envious of how much that person actually has. See, the law says that the more you give, the more you will have to give. That's the actual law. The more you give, the more you will have to give. Now, am I telling you to you can't pay your bills, so you should give people money? No. You could give of yourself that which that you have in abundance. You don't have money, you have love. You have time, you have compassion, you have understanding, you have empathy. Okay? Give of yourself that which you have in abundance.
Bring value first is, something I've been saying for years, and that's that giver's mentality. You have to be bringing value to be able to extract or expect any value in return. Exactly. Otherwise, it's manipulation. It's
manipulation. Exactly. You said it correctly. And so those two really, really, really hit home for me. And the last one I'll talk about is probably what you would say is a more basic one. People have heard it a lot of times, but I would challenge anybody in Hop Nation right now to ask themselves in the mirror how often they actually do this. How often do you start your day at the finish line? Let me repeat that.
Explain that.
Yeah, I want that to sink in. How often do you start your day at the finish line? So in other words, Sun Tzu said, ones who are essentially victims seek first to win and then go forth into battle. He said victors win first and then go out into the battle. He ain't wrong. So what I'm saying is, put a visualization on how you want your day to go, and tell yourself, this is the result I'm gonna have in my day today. Whether that be you're gonna touch somebody, you're gonna create a new project, you're gonna call Corey on the phone and talk to him about what his wife is making for dinner. I don't care what it is, but visualize that. Put that vision in your mind. The rest of the day, you're just going through the motions to get there. You're just taking the steps to what's already done. start your day at the finish line. Now, if that
I love
sounds
it.
crazy, yeah, hey, look, if that sounds crazy to you, look at athletes, okay? If you look at athletes, right, look at Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world. Usain Bolt got on a podcast recently. They said, how do you like look so effortless when you're running? He said, because before I won before I started. He said, I won this morning before I ever got on that starting line. Think about what he's saying there. He said, I already won when I got on the starting line. He said, I knew I had 9 medals before I won the first gold. I knew I had 9 gold medals in those 3 races before I won the first one. Why do you think that is? He was wearing them the entire time in his spirit.
Absolutely. And he set the intention.
Set the intention on the day. That's it. Done. Yeah. So start your day at the finish line. You know, and every incredibly successful people, you know, when you ask them this, they will give you this in different words, different capacity, whatever, but it will mean exactly the same thing. Begin with the end in mind. Even Covey said that. Start at the finish line. Visualize the results you want for your day. Say it any way you like, but start your day at the finish line. Watch what happens.
I love it. And, you know, given we're about elite peak performance, right?
Yeah.
I love it. And my epitaph's going to read, you know, I fought the good fight. I finished the race and I kept the faith. And at the end of the race, which is the end of my life, right? And all of us are gifted with time. It's the same 24/7. We just don't know what the end of our dash is.
Right.
So
start at the finish line, man. So yeah, that's the one I would exclamate for the you know, the 7 secrets of killer success.
I love it. And I mean, that would apply not just to every day. I think you'd break it down to those micro moments.
Oh, absolutely.
But then look at, you know, over the next year, over the next decade, over the lifetime, what's the finish line? And Corey, keeping that mentality is what will give you that grit and perseverance when life will throw us off course. There's stuff out of our control. And we've talked about this where, you know, and then you're having to go into this, but having those mental maps, right, that we can go to because we've set the intention and trained our minds and the neurology and neurobiology to drive towards that. That's where the energy comes from and attracts stuff in. And there's a science to that. Like people think, oh, that's pseudoscience and hairy-fairy. No, there's literal science and physics behind it. So
absolutely, there's a physiology to it for sure. Look, you know, start small. If you have any doubt about whether this works or not, start small. You know, I'll tell you, you know, hand to God, I visualize how this podcast is going to go with Corey and me today. And Corey and I have talked many times on the phone, on Zoom and all that. But I still said, man, I'm so glad that Corey brought me back. I'm so grateful. I want it to be a powerful podcast. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to have the energy. We're going to have banter. It's going to be funny. I mean, I had all this. What's happening right now, I knew it was going to happen already. I did. And this is a small thing, right? And we're doing this podcast, but I visualized what this was going to look like, you know? So start with a meeting. You know, start with the next conversation with your wife or your husband, with your. I got a teenage daughter. I have to visualize how I want this conversation to go before I talk to them about certain things. You know, because I say, okay, so what do I want to happen? How do I want this to go? What do I want it to look like? And so I know from personal experience that truly helps me have more success in the relationships and the communication and, you know, any of the situations that I'm in, whether it be personal or business. It helps me have more success for sure.
I love it. And it relates to the other point around doubt, because it will at least give you the courage in advance of the ultimate confidence that catches up.
Yeah.
You know, but we need to embrace courage before confidence.
Yeah.
And that setting the intention and visualizing, you know, what you want in the end is the spark to have the courage to step into that one thing. Do the first thing. Do the first thing, right? And then, you know, the second thing, and then you have momentum and
boom.
Then you're unstoppable.
then you're unstoppable. And I love that. So yeah, the book is, like I said, it's a labor of love. Corey, thank you for bringing me on to talk about it. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much again for your time, Dean. Any last words of wisdom for Hop Nation, or, insights into what's next? And we'll make sure that we put the links on how to get the podcast.
Here's the book right here. This is what it looks like, everybody. So last words, what I would say last words are is, wherever you are in your life right now, wherever you are in business right now, your personal life and the whole 9 yards, what I would like you to think about is understanding that we're all connected in the universe and that you're not alone. So I want you to consider, if you want to succeed at anything, I want you to consider this term, which is modeling. And modeling is find someone, something that resonates with your spirit, with your core values and your standards that you set for yourself, whether that be in your personal relationships or your business relationships, and follow the train of thinking of the person who did that. Now, listen to what I said. You don't need to be the person or do exactly what they did or what they're doing, but follow how they think about what they're doing. Follow how they think about what they're doing, modeling. You don't need to do this by yourself or do it alone. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing new under the sun right now. Just model something, and your uniqueness will come forward because of that. And so I would say I'm leaving you with modeling. That's the word of the day, is what I'm leaving them with. And Corey, whenever you're ready, I'll tell people what's next with me.
That's exceptional. And, we could end with that, but love to hear what's next for you.
So right now, I am definitely focused on the industry that made me, that bore me, where I found my calling, that's the beauty industry. So I'm specifically working with salon owners and their teams. So if you own a salon and you're doing $350,000 plus in annual revenue right now, in 12 to 24 months working with me, I will take you past the $1 million mark and doing double-digit profit in a neighborhood of 12 to 19%, and maybe even more. And that is astounding, because the average in the beauty industry, regardless of how much money the salon makes, is somewhere in the neighborhood of around 6%, 4 to 6% is what they have left on the bottom line at the end of the day. So the same way I know about the killer success secrets is the same way I know that this works. I own the salon. And for the 4 years that I owned that salon with my lady, we did double-digit profit every year between 12 and 22% over those 4 years. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, pretty sick. And we also produced somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 6, so half a dozen 6-figure stylists. So these are stylists that are working behind a chair doing over $100,000 a year. And over the course of my coaching career in the beauty industry, I've definitely created dozens of 6-figure stylists and a few $1 million salons doing double-digit profits. So I'm looking forward to doing that in 2022. So specifically, I'm helping 22 people this year.
22 and 22.
22 and 22. Let's go. Best way to get in touch with me is on Facebook Messenger. You can find me there. It's Dean Forbes. I'm sure Corey has a lot of that information that you can put up, but just get at me on Facebook Instant Messenger.
Awesome. I love it. And that's impressive and laser focused in a niche. And I know for a fact those numbers and that credibility you bring. So those that are in that category, Dean's the guy. So thank you, Dean Forbes. Looking forward to having you back again in the near future and doing some other cool stuff in 2022 and beyond.
Sounds good, Corey. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Hop Nation, for tuning in this week for another wonderful episode. And if you haven't already, again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us, and share with friends. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.